Hey there, welcome to the Movie Review Mom YouTube channel. If this is the very first time you've been here, yay, you're finally here. You found me. I've been waiting for you. And if you are a returning subscriber, yay, thank you so much for coming back. I truly appreciate your support. And you already know that my goal is to give you the heads up on filmmaking quality and content so that you can decide whether or not you want to spend time or money or both sometimes watching a particular film. So the particular film I'm reviewing today is called An American in Austen. This romantic comedy is now playing on the Hallmark channel as part of the Love-uary celebration of Valentine's month of February. Now, February's almost over, so we're only going to get a few more of these, but this one was by far my favorite. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The movie is TVG, which means it's very family friendly. It's an hour and 24 minutes. And the movie review mom grade I'm giving it is an A. That's how much I enjoyed this movie. So let me give you an overview in a nutshell, and then I'll point out things I really liked, things I didn't like, tips for parents, themes worth talking about, funny lines, interesting lines, and recommendations for other films that are sort of similar that you might also really like if you like this one. All right, let's dive in. So, in a nutshell, just when we think we've seen every possible adaptation of Pride and Prejudice, along comes another one, which is a completely adorable tribute to Jane Austen's literary masterpiece that fans have loved for centuries worldwide. The lovely film was directed by Claire Niederpruem. Writing credits of the fun story go to Cameron Johan. Maybe it's Johan. I don't know. Sorry if I pronounced both of your names incorrectly. But I'm happy to announce that this is one of my all-time favorite Hallmark movies. So I hope I'm not overselling it. So quick tips for parents, and that is that kids are going to definitely be bored unless they're Jane Austen fans, because it's adults talking and there's some kissing. Alcohol is consumed. As I mentioned, there's kissing. There's no profanity, though. So thank you, Hallmark. I really appreciate that. Some of the themes that are illustrated very well are romance, Jane Austen, fiction versus reality, life imitating art, expectations, and choices and consequences. All right, so here's the long list of things I really liked about this film. So, what makes this unique is that an American librarian magically transforms into the life of Jane Austen and her family in search of the moment she has dreamt to find true love. So, can you believe that actress who plays her is named Eliza Bennett in real life? How perfect is that? Her parents wanted to name her after the character in Pride and Prejudice. I'm sure never imagining that she would actually grow up to be in a movie about the legendary book. That's amazing. Surprisingly, while she plays an American in the movie, she was actually born in England. The entire cast does a terrific job and features Nicholas Bishop, Nell Barlow, Catherine Haney, Erica Ford, Grace Hogg-Robinson, Robin Weaver, Robert Portal, and Toby Alexander Smith, among many others. The title is cute and is a reference to the 1950 movie called An American in Paris. We get a special appearance by the Duchess Sarah Ferguson, so that classes up the joint. As a published author of 31 books myself, my shameless plug, I always love watching movies that portray writers, and I'm fascinated to see how they're portrayed and what inspires them. What's their muse? How do they come up with the ideas? And so there's that element of this movie. And by the way, you can see almost all of my books on amazon.to just by searching for my name, which is Trina Boice. I thought that the proposal in Act One was super cute and creative. And so I was surprised when our protagonist is hesitant to say yes because she doesn't think it feels and looks like what she had imagined in her mind's eye, her whole life. And that's really the crux of the story is so often we have expectations that are so unrealistic that when they're not met, we're unhappy even though if we had just been open to whatever came our way. I'm not really saying this very well. We would be thrilled, you know, and she has to visit Jane Austen and her family and see her life and see the story to recognize that she really did love this guy. Okay, maybe that's a big spoiler, but you know that there's going to be happiness at the end of Hallmark movies. The costume design by Irina Kocheva was fantastic. And I think Janites are going to be really pleased with that look and feel of the settings and the locations. The set decorations by Lydia Birukova were also really wonderful. It all felt very authentic and a fantastical escape for Janites. There are plenty of inside jokes for those who are very familiar with the book and love the story. The humor definitely pokes fun at Americans using modern jokes and sensibilities. As an American, I wasn't offended at all because we're easy to make fun of. And because the Brits are so just classy when it comes to Jane Austen books. The music is bouncy and whimsical, perfectly scoring a delightful film. Now, with all of that praise, there were just a few things that I didn't like or thought could have been done differently. For example, we don't really get to see much of Elizabeth Bennet's personality until almost the very end of the movie. She is the protagonist in Pride and Prejudice, and we're supposed to be rooting for her. But again, we just don't really know her in the movie. Of course, we know the book and the story. And of course, fans of Jane Austen's famous book, Pride and Prejudice, already knows what happens between Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy, but it just felt like a big gap in the film itself. The story takes place in 1813, which was the year Pride and Prejudice was published. It was also during the War of 1812 when England and the USA were at war with one another. So Harriet, the protagonist in the movie, would never have been able to sail across the dangerous seas, and she also would have never been invited to go to England during this treacherous time. We see the protagonist break the fourth wall by talking directly to the audience, or in this case, really the narrator. It only happens once at the very beginning of the movie, and so it would have been charming and appropriate to have her do it again at the end of the movie. And I don't know why, but I actually get a kick out of when actors break the fourth wall. I just think it's kind of a fun technique and it engages you, and it's like a wink to the audience that we're in on the joke. Now, speaking of jokes, whenever I watch movies, I always take notes and write down funny lines and interesting lines simply so that I can share them with you so you get a taste for the feel of the dialogue and the script writing quality and all of that. So here are some funny lines. First of all, our protagonist, our main girl, is Harriet, and she says to somebody, "You don't let go of a guy who memorizes every lyric to every song by Foreigner," which lets you know that she really does love this guy. Another time she says, "I'd write masterpieces in prison," as someone threatens that she's going to end up in prison because she's kind of doing crazy things. And then another time she gets to England and she's in Jane Austen's life and story, or of Pride and Prejudice, and you know, and she just thinks it's a gag. She thinks maybe her boyfriend kind of conjured up all of this, and so she says, "Who produced this? James Cameron?" Because it's so authentic and epic, and I thought that that was cute. And then another line, these are interesting lines, but another interesting line that she says is, "Jane Austen single-handedly got me through my parents' divorce and, well, every one of my breakups after." And I think a lot of women feel that way. And the book is so relatable that so many fans across the world just adore it so much. And then there's a really wonderful actress, Robin Weaver, who plays Mrs. Bennet. She just does such a great job as Mrs. Bennet. And one line that she says that I thought was wise is, "Love is truly a luxury only afforded to men." Now, that was definitely the case back in those days. Nowadays, of course, women are so much more independent. Um, but the rules aren't the same for men and women. For example, men can sleep around, and apparently that's okay in society. But if a woman does, then she's called all kinds of horrible names. So there are definitely two sets of rules, and we definitely see that back in the 1800s, especially in England. Another really interesting line is when Harriet, again played by Eliza Bennet, says, "She really is the voice of a generation," speaking about Jane Austen. And yet she's so applicable to this generation too, interestingly enough. And then another interesting line spoken by Mrs. Bennet, played by Robin Weaver again, is, "In order to have happiness, there must be first safety and security. Those things, after all, are the foundation of love." And I thought that was an interesting line. It definitely applied to women in the 1800s, but I think that there's some element of truth as well. If you're going to get married to a man nowadays, or to a partner of any kind, there has to be some foundation of safety and security, not just financially, but feeling safe and secure with another person, right? Otherwise, why would you be getting married to them? And I definitely felt that when I got married. I dated lots of wonderful guys. One man I really thought I was going to marry, finally, I started seeing red flags, and I felt like this guy's not really honest with me. And I think he's got potential to have an affair. And that did not make me feel safe or secure. And I ended up obviously meeting and marrying my current husband, my only husband, because he is, everybody always calls him Mr. Integrity. I just knew he would never break our marital vows unless we mutually agreed upon that, but that's not who we are. We committed to each other. And so I think that that was an interesting line. Okay, I'm telling you way too much about myself. All right, so let me give you recommendations for 3 films that I instantly thought of as I was watching this one. One that I just recently reviewed is called Paging Mr. Darcy, also a Hallmark movie based on Jane Austen during this February Lovuary month of movies. And I thought it was pretty cute. It wasn't perfect. I definitely liked this one better, but it still is cute, especially if you are a Jane Austen fan. Another one is called Love and Jane, also a new one that came out during Lovuary. And then, of course, I have to recommend Pride and Prejudice. Now, there have been several movie versions and adaptations of the book, but I think my favorite is probably the 1995 version. If you haven't seen that one, definitely check that one out. All right, that's it. Thank you so much for spending a few minutes with me. And if you get a minute, run over to Instagram. You can follow me at Movie Review Mom, but you can also follow me as my author name, Trina Boice, where you can learn about my books, especially when they are up for free on Amazon, which is almost every weekend. And you can also learn about my online courses, my products, and my other shenanigans. Have a fantastic day. I hope you get a kick out of this movie like I did, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.